Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a new one. Today I'm trying a new series on my channel. I want to deep dive into alt/goth people in the media, TV shows, movies. I haven't come up with a catchy name for it yet, so if you guys have any suggestions, leave them down below. I haven't thought of anything witty. Also, I put a poll on my community tab asking you guys if you would like to see content like this, and it was an overwhelming yes, so thank you so much to everyone who voted for that. When I thought about this idea for content originally, I knew the first video I wanted to do was Gwen from the Total Drama series, so that is who we are talking about today. And buckle up, because I think this is going to be some pretty decently long content, but I wanted something more long form for this channel because I just really like talking. So let's deep dive into everyone's favorite goth girl, or at least my favorite goth girl, Gwen from Total Drama. Before we deep dive into all things Gwen, I just wanted to give you a overall idea of what Total Drama is if you have not heard of it or ever seen it. Total Drama is a cartoon show that started in 2007 in Canada and 2008 in the US. There is a total of 6 seasons and 2 spin-offs, including a reboot of the first Total Drama with a all-new cast of people that is, from the time of recording this video, still currently coming out. Crazy. And before this, the show had taken a 7-year hiatus. The show is basically a cartoon parody of survival reality TV shows and follows a range of teen characters competing in insane competitions for different sums of money. In the first season, it was like 100,000 and then it went to like 1 million. And none of the stuff that ever happens in the show would be legal if it was not a cartoon. I grew up watching Survivor with my parents because they were obsessed. So when this show came out when I was in middle school, it was like my own little Survivor. The first 3 seasons came out through my entire middle school career and I was obsessed. You bet you I made it my whole personality. So enough about me, let's talk about Gwen. To preface, I will only be talking about her and the people involved in her story. I will also only be covering Total Drama Island, Action, World Tour, her guest appearances on Revenge of the Island, and All Stars. You can't make me watch the kids show, I refuse. Now let's start off with the season that started it all, Total Drama Island. The people important in the story are Gwen, obviously, Heather, aka Regina George, Trent, the musician. I swear this man is about to play Wonderwall any second now. And Gwen's love interest. Duncan, resident bad boy. He literally went to juvie, okay? He is a criminal. And finally, Courtney, the stuck-up A-type, and Duncan's love interest. Duncan and Courtney don't play a major role in this season in particular, but don't forget about them. Starting off, when we meet Gwen, like most of the contestants on the show, they have been tricked into thinking that they're staying at this crazy luxury resort, and it's this shitty summer camp called Camp Wawanakwa on an island. So everyone is basically stuck here for 8 weeks. So to try to get out of it, Gwen rips up the contract papers, but that didn't work. They made copies. And the boat left without her, so she's stuck. She meets Trent and immediately is kind of into him, and she even gets to be on the same team as him, the Screaming Gophers. I love the team names in every single season. They just get weirder and weirder. Heather is also on the same team, and they hate each other right off the bat, because of course they do. I think when Heather meets her, she immediately calls Gwen weird goth girl. Gwen goes on to single-handedly win the second challenge in the show, and gets to know Trent a little bit in the process. A couple episodes later, Trent serenades her in a talent show. In that same episode, we find out Gwen keeps a diary, which for Heather's talent, she reads out loud, not only to the entire camp, but to the millions of fictional people watching the show, because it's supposed to be like a reality show.
Okay. So I'm trying to ignore him, but he's just so cute. If they had custom ordered a guy to be a distraction for me here, it would have been McHottie. We just totally connect. He's pretty much the only person I can relate to here, and I know it's a cliche, but I love guys who play guitar.
Wait, I don't play guitar.
It basically outs her crush on Trent, but I don't think he really picks up on that. Gwen gets back at Heather at the end of the episode by putting a red ant farm in her bed. Karma's a bitch. In episode 7, Gwen has to be buried alive for a phobia challenge, and Trent stays with her until he doesn't because he gets chased off by a mime, who happens to be his phobia. Nice going, dude. And also forgets about her. Are you serious? Nothing else really happens for another 5 episodes, but during that stretch of time, Duncan and Courtney are getting real close. In episode 12, Gwen single-handedly wins again, and an honorable mention to Courtney for getting voted off because Harold sabotaged the votes to get back at Duncan. No more Duncan and Courtney for a while, but not before Duncan throws a skull for her to remember him by.
I made this for you!
Duncan! Okay, this is really weird and creepy.
And who says romance is dead? Skipping all the way to episode 16, things are about to get juicy and dramatic. At this point, Heather and Gwen are mortal enemies. There's no friendship between these two. Earlier on in the episode, Heather sees Gwen kiss Trent after he helps her get what she needs for a competition. And that's when Heather schemes to break them up so she can hopefully win the competition. She has Lindsay, who is the dumb blonde stereotype in the show and also Heather's lackey, write a fake letter to Gwen from Trent to meet her at the dock. Lindsay lures Trent to the dock where Heather is waiting and pretends to be crying. Trent goes to comfort her and Heather talks about how terrible Gwen is and how she said so many terrible things about Trent. Specifically, he somehow believes this and is really hurt. Gwen shows up just in time to see Heather kiss Trent. Trent actually doesn't notice that Gwen saw anything and walks away really fucking confused. Meanwhile, Gwen runs away crying. Lashana, one of Gwen's friends in the show, finds out what happened, tells everyone to vote for either Trent or Heather to get them out of the competition. This backfires because Heather ends up getting immunity that same episode just by sheer luck, meaning she can't be voted off. So it's bye-bye Trent. Before he leaves, both Gwen and Trent find out that Heather sabotaged their relationship and everything Heather had said previously was a lie. They make up, and right as they're about to kiss, he gets thrown onto the boat. Why Trent believed Heather in the first place is beyond me. At this point in the show, Heather is known to be a giant manipulator, cheater, and liar. Trent, you're fucking stupid, I'm sorry. Nothing for Gwen really happens till the end, except Gwen and Duncan bond over horror movies.
Or when he shoves that big dude's head inside the wood chipper!
And slowly start to become friends, till he gets voted off. That leaves Owen, Gwen, and Heather in the final three. Heather ends up getting eliminated because she refuses to take a dare that shaves off her hair, which in turn leads her to get her hair shaved off anyway after she accidentally knocks the razor and it flies straight onto her head. Karma's a bitch. Now, here's the funny thing about Total Drama. It literally does not matter who wins because every single season there is 2 variations of the end episode. So you basically get to say each of the final 2 win. So for this season, the Canada version, Gwen wins, and the US version, Owen wins. I sadly had to watch Owen win when this was airing, so Owen wins by knocking Gwen over during a race to get a plate of brownies. In Gwen's version, the exact same thing happens, but Owen completely misses the finish line, causing Gwen to win. It ends with all of the contestants celebrating at a luxury resort on the island. That is until Chris says 14 of them have a chance of winning $1 million in season 2. That starts in 2 days, which leads us to Total Drama Actions. This one is fun. This one takes place in an abandoned film lot, and all the challenges are movie-based. We have our usual people, Gwen, Trent, Heather, and Duncan. No Courtney though, because she actually sued the show, and Chris, the host, won't let her be on season 2. Heather isn't super big in this season for Gwen, but I have to mention her because she is fully bald now, and this entire season is trying to hide the fact that she's bald with wigs, even though everyone saw. Also, Gwen and Trent are officially dating now. Woo! Remember, it's been 2 days. Duncan and Gwen's friendship is still going strong, but it's making Trent jealous as fuck. Gwen and Trent actually win the second challenge together, but because they won together, that means they are going to have to compete against each other. Drama! Trent and Gwen become team captains and have to start picking their team. Gwen goes first and immediately picks Duncan, which in turn causes Trent to pick Lindsay and call her beautiful in retaliation. Trent pissed me off this entire episode and we're only on the 3rd episode. Later on, Duncan catches Gwen from falling, and of course that gets on Trent's nerves. Trent calls them new best friends and punk wannabes.
Hey, new best friends, how do you like that? You gonna cry together, you punk wannabes? Cause your team is going down. Not cool. Not cool at all.
Everyone gasps, even Heather. What the fuck, Trent? They make up by the end of the episode, but now there's this weird non-love triangle thing going on. Gwen just wants to be friends with Duncan because they're on the same team. Duncan is pretty chill and doesn't really care, and Trent is super obsessed with Gwen. He's so obsessed with her, in fact, that he starts counting to 9 over and over and over again, and he also keeps throwing challenges for her so that her team can win, ultimately costing his entire team to lose. This actually makes Gwen break up with him because it's just too much. Trent's team actually overhears the breakup and finds out that he has been throwing the challenges, and Gwen tells them that they can vote him off if they don't believe her. So everyone does just that. They vote him off. Bye! The next episode is like one of 4 episodes in this season called Total Drama Aftermath, hosted by everyone's annoying couple, Jeff and Bridget, and all the old contestants are there too. They recap what happened over the previous episodes and interview the people who have been kicked off. Trent finds out on the show that Gwen told his team to vote him off. Yikes. He sobs about it and writes a shit song. Trent says Gwen and Duncan have been hanging out a lot, causing Duncan to get in trouble with Courtney. Back on the actual show, Gwen is trying not so secretly to throw the challenge, and Heather is catching on. She made a pact with Trent's team that she would let them win next challenge because of how much Trent was fucking up the team. By the end of the episode, everyone figures out Gwen was trying to throw the game, even though the other team won regardless of her trying to throw the game, and of course Gwen gets voted off. She even votes for herself because she feels so bad. Before she leaves, Duncan actually sacrifices himself, but chickens out when Chef actually agrees to send him home instead. Oh, what a little bitch. The next day, Duncan admires Gwen for having the guts to play the other team. Gwen appears on the Aftermath show, and oh man, it does not look good for her. Everyone is either Team Trent or Team Gwen. She tries to talk about how much she cared about all the other players, and mentions Duncan didn't vote her off. Courtney says this in response.
Duncan didn't vote me off.
Only because you had your goth girl hooks into him.
Gwen says they're just friends, and Jeff conveniently plays a clip.
What's your damage?
You think Courtney might be looking at the stars now?
Oh, wow. Who knew you were such a sucker for the A-type?
Oh, you want to make something of it?
You can do better than that.
Oh, ooh.
Scandalous. Courtney storms away to call her lawyers. I don't know what she thinks that's gonna do, but whatever makes you feel better. Trent finally actually stands up for Gwen and admits blame for fucking up the entire competition. The next scenes I talk about are Duncan and Courtney related, because even though Gwen is not in the season anymore, I still feel it's relevant to the overarching story. Next episode, Courtney shows up in the competition. She won the lawsuit and made it legally binding that she has to come back. Her and Duncan do end up being on opposite teams though. Duncan doesn't like that Courtney is getting any sort of special treatment, and she accuses him of being with Gwen. He responds with that his relationships are none of her business. Yikes, so I guess they're broken up? But we get this line.
Having Courtney back reminds me how much she drives me crazy. And how much she drives me crazy.
And this scene shortly after. I think I'm getting whiplash, Jesus Christ. Basically, Duncan goes on to flirt with her for multiple episodes, and Courtney tries to play it cool, but in the confessional is like, yeah, he's hot. Several episodes later, Duncan votes Courtney off for making him read a 35-page essay on how she wants her boyfriend to act. Man. As she's leaving, she says they're so done. Breakup number 2. Bye, Courtney. Duncan and Beth end up being the final 2, and they actually tie for first originally, and then the whole cast gets to vote for who they want to win. Beth wins in the US version, and Duncan wins in the Canadian version. In Beth's win, Duncan and Courtney are seen leaving together shortly after she wins, and in Duncan's version, Courtney and Duncan celebrate by making out. No surprise there. The last episode is the reunion episode. Everyone's had some time apart from the show. It's unclear how much time. Realistically though, this show is just to introduce you to the 2 new characters that are going to be popping up next season, but some eventful things do happen in the reunion episode. During their time away, Heather and Gwen start an internet blog war. Gwen also really cares about the environment, which this is only the second time this has ever come up, but I don't know. Heather and Gwen physically fight each other in an interview. Duncan and Courtney break up for the 3rd time, which prompts Gwen to talk about it on her internet blog. She says Duncan's the best thing to ever happen to Courtney and that he's so hot. Love triangle, let's go. Courtney says she's going to be keeping an eye on Gwen next season because she's a boyfriend stealer. She hasn't done anything yet, calm down. It's a musical time, baby. On to Total Drama World Tour. Basically a musical season where they tour the world. Oh boy. No Trent this season, thank fucking god. Gwen, Courtney, and Heather end up on the same team, Team Amazon. Duncan gets booted off the show immediately because he refuses to sing. So no Duncan, which means Gwen and Courtney are free to try to be friends, hopefully. The first half of the season is either Gwen and Courtney bonding over hating Heather, or all 3 of them bickering over the challenges. My favorite scene this entire season is Gwen getting accidentally shot with Cody's EpiPen. She has a whole adrenaline rush and sings a song about it, and then promptly passes the fuck out. You would think this would get her voted off, but everyone on her team really wants Heather gone. Heather does technically get eliminated this episode, but Chris was like, psych. This is not an elimination episode. In the next episode, episode 10, Gwen accidentally says her last relationship with Duncan instead of saying her last relationship with Trent. Oopsies. which is the only first sign we see that she likes him, minus her saying he's hot in the previous season. You guys are not prepared for episode 13. In episode 13, Gwen and Courtney have to catch a criminal for their challenge, and they stumble upon the backstage of a concert hall when misinterpreting a clue. The criminal they catch? Duncan. Yeah, he was just chilling in London playing in a punk rock band. Chris makes Duncan be back in the game, but on a different team than the girls. After the challenge is done, we see Courtney yell at Duncan for leaving her, and that she's not actually mad, she just really missed him. During this conversation, Gwen comes out of the bathroom right behind them, and Duncan says this while hugging Courtney.
I'm not really mad. I just missed you.
Every time I ran from the cops, I thought of you.
What the fuck, Duncan? Jesus Christ. The last couple minutes of this fucking episode ends with Gwen in the confessional being nervous that Duncan is back. And then Duncan comes through the door because Gwen forgot to lock it, or the lock was actually busted. And then this happens.
Oh my gosh, I didn't lock the door?
The lock's busted. What happened to your paw?
This is so stupid, but I have no idea. And I'm so glad you're here to mock me about it.
Me too.
Ow. Hey.
I'm on Tyler with this one. What the fuck? This was one episode. What? And they leave it on a cliffhanger? Man, I'm so glad I didn't have to wait an entire week to see what happened next. Cries in 13. You thought this episode was crazy? Well, buckle up, Buttercup. This next one is insane. It starts off with Courtney being super excited that Duncan is back and is gushing to Gwen, which is making Gwen feel really guilty. But she also really wants to kiss him again. Courtney says this.
Especially now that Duncan's back. Gwen probably still has a crush on him. Who wouldn't? But she also likes her teeth. A lot.
Which, damn, maybe Courtney was right this entire time. That just feels wrong. Gwen and Duncan actually go head to head in this episode, and instead of competing against one another, decide to sing about their relationship. Because if you forgot, it's a musical season. We find out that Duncan actually doesn't regret anything that happened, but he's absolutely terrified of Courtney finding out. Tyler ends up outing their kiss to everyone, and Courtney, rightfully so, freaks out and is now hell-bent on getting Gwen voted off. Duncan's team loses, and everyone is ready to vote him off. But it's like, again, not an elimination round. Ah, Chris, you drama-loving psychopath. Next episode, Courtney breaks up with Duncan by throwing spaghetti on his head, throwing a temper tantrum on the floor, and kicking him in the balls. Good for her. This whole episode, Duncan and Gwen are shamelessly flirting with each other right in front of Courtney, causing Courtney to pretend to flirt with Tyler to make Duncan jealous. Girl, he does not care. Heather and Courtney sing a song about how much they hate Gwen. Boyfriend kisser, boyfriend kisser. Duncan and Gwen kiss for the second time ever, and Courtney tries to do the challenge so she can get Gwen voted off. The determination is real, but they end up winning anyway. Gwen and Courtney both try to convince their team to vote the other off. Gwen and Courtney actually end up tying for elimination because earlier in the episode, Cody gets a concussion and accidentally votes Sierra off instead of Courtney. So now Gwen and Courtney have to feed koalas eucalyptus leaves, and whoever wins gets to stay in the competition. Well, Gwen so happens to be allergic to eucalyptus, so it's bye-bye Gwen. Next episode, Courtney wants Duncan to apologize for cheating on her with Gwen, but he doesn't apologize. And later, he carves Gwen's face into the side of a chair. Yeah, he really cares about you, Courtney. Here's my only mention of Trent this season. Him and Gwen are on Aftermath together, following her elimination, and he says in a joking manner, "So, Duncan, huh? Didn't see that one coming." You're not funny, Trent. No. The last episode worth mentioning for this season is episode 19, where Duncan purposely gives Courtney the wrong directions to humiliate her, and even laughs when she gets hurt. Man, Duncan really went from criminal with a heart of gold to just a straight up asshole. So wrapping up the season, Gwen's a single boyfriend kisser and is being coined the new Heather. Yikes. Courtney is still Courtney. Duncan is a giant piece of shit and deserves no woman. And Trent is, well, I don't really care. Going in chronological order, let's talk about her very brief appearances on Revenge of the Island. She's in episode 1 for literally a split second with the rest of her cast. They're all coming into the dock while all dancing on a yacht, and you can see Duncan and Gwen making out while everyone else is dancing. No surprise there. She's not seen again for this season until episode 8, where as part of a challenge for the new contestants, she gets buried alive for the second time, and the contestants have to save her. Poor Gwen.
Wow! If I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Onto Total Drama All-Stars. For I'm sure Courtney and Gwen's friendship will be fine right? It's a whole year later since World Tour, and this season combines some of the original cast and some of the new cast from the previous season. Back to Camp Wawanakwa for one final time. The only new cast member that sort of comes into play in the story is Scott. He's Redneck Duncan. That's all you really need to know. We meet all the contestants for this season as they're being thrown out of a plane. Chris introduces Gwen as the boyfriend stealer, and as she's falling from the plane, says he wasn't her boyfriend at the time. I'm sorry, what? Is that the story we're telling ourselves now? Duncan and Gwen end up on the same team, the villainous Vultures, and that does not sit right with Gwen. Duncan also says he only came back for Gwen.
Oh man, I only came back for Gwen. She better not sulk the whole time, or I may as well be dating Courtney.
Courtney admits that Duncan was just a bad boy and that she knew it wasn't going to last forever, but thought her and Gwen were actually friends. Gwen tries multiple times through multiple episodes to make up with Courtney, and it just goes terribly wrong. She starts by not really apologizing to her and saying that even though she did nothing wrong, Jesus, Gwen, come on. She says she's sorry, and Gwen offers her flowers that Courtney happens to be allergic to. She also accidentally throws garbage onto Courtney's head and kicks a bucket full of leeches onto her head. Meanwhile, Gwen is giving Duncan the cold shoulder and doesn't seem as into him as she used to be. Everything that happens to Courtney causes Heather and Duncan to think that Gwen is this evil genius that is purposely doing these things. Gwen actually gets really upset that Duncan thinks she's doing this on purpose and says that Duncan probably doesn't know her at all then, which is crazy to think because it's been a whole year. Even if they haven't been romantically involved for that whole year, you think you'd know that she's not just this malicious, cruel villain. At the end of the episode, Courtney and Duncan switch teams, meaning Gwen and Courtney are on the same team again. Yay! Let's hope this works out, please. By episode 5, Gwen is done with Duncan's shit and breaks up with him because he just kisses her to make Courtney jealous.
Wish I was on the heroes team.
Aw, cheer up, Gwen. There, that should do it. You think she was watching?
I can't do this anymore. It's over.
What just happened?
Good for her. In the next episode, Gwen makes things right with Courtney and says she'll never let boys come before friendships again. Prepare for some minor whiplash. By episode 7, Courtney and Gwen are buddy-buddy, but they have to fight each other in a boxing match for a challenge. They refuse, which Chris expected, and he decides to show Courtney a montage of Duncan and Gwen kissing. That actually really triggers Courtney and gets them to actually fight. But they quickly run out of energy, make up, and hug. All is well in the world. They are really BFFs now, with Courtney excited for the possibility of Gwen and her being in the final 2. Remember this for later. What's Duncan doing this whole time, you might ask? Having a bad boy crisis, and the girlies just don't give two fucks. I love that for them. Duncan decides to blow up Chris's mansion on the island, prove that he really is a hardened criminal, and he ends up actually getting eliminated and arrested. You dumbass. And that's the last time we see Duncan. Enjoy big boy jail, buddy. In the background of this whole season, Courtney and Scott have been forming sort of a relationship. What started as Courtney just wanting to gain an ally turned into romance for her when she fell and accidentally kissed Scott. I kid you not, they get together, break up after 2 hours, get back together again, and then break up one last time in the span of 3 episodes. They break up the final time because it's revealed that Courtney made a list in what order she wanted people voted off, and that she wanted Scott in the final 2 with her, meaning she either lied or never planned to have Gwen be in the final 2 with her. This immediately pisses both Scott and Gwen off, and they basically ditch her. Good for them. Courtney has always been a shitty friend. Gwen still wants to be friends, however, but she can't trust Courtney. She tells Courtney to vote for herself in elimination to prove to Gwen that she can trust her again. Courtney does end up doing just that, but because of the list, it gets her voted off by everyone. Bye, Courtney. Gwen makes it until the final 4, but by the end of the episode gets eliminated after trying to fix a Chris painting and making the real Chris puke. She gets flushed down the toilet, saying that there will never be a next time, and she's never coming back to Joel drama. Surprise, she's back for the last episode. She gets put on Team Zoe to help her possibly win the competition. While doing so, she gets to hit Heather in the head and says this.
Whoops, my stick slipped. Old Heather. I've been waiting to do that for 4 seasons.
We love some revenge. Regardless of who wins this version, Gwen congratulates the both of them. It ends with the island of Camp Wawanakwa exploding with water and everyone on top of a cabin drifting off into the sea.
We should do this again sometime. No!
And that is the last we see of Gwen. From competitor to lover to cheater to just wanting to make friends. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Let me know down below what you guys think of Gwen and her character as a whole. I loved this character growing up, but after binging the show for this video specifically, she had some issues. But I think ultimately she was just trying to be a decent person. And you gotta remember, these people are literally 16. This is the years when you're gonna make a ton of mistakes. And all of theirs just happened to be televised. But let me know what you guys guys think about this series as a whole, if you guys want to see more. This took a lot more work behind the scenes to make this video, but I really enjoyed the overall process, and I hope you guys liked the video, and please give me suggestions on what to call this series because I can't think of anything. But yeah, as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I post new videos out every week, so don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload from me, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!